Hey, I'm Brian Oliver. Today we're going to be interviewing some of the featured guests at Sinister Creature Con. We got everybody from Neill to Allan, Trautman, and many more. There's a lot of wonderful people here, a lot of wonderful guests. It's going to be great. I'm here with Allan Trautman, obviously known for being, Tarman from Return of the Living Dead, probably the most iconic zombie of all time. My personal favorite zombie movie. One of the most noticeable things I think, and when I think of that movie, is the movement with the Tarman. Was that like a director's decision, or was that maybe that just came to mind with you?
Well, the direction I received from the very beginning, from the audition, was that he's basically falling apart, and he's about to just dissolve into a puddle at any moment. So that's what I was given, and then the walk just kind of bubbled up naturally. I don't know where it came from. I didn't really choreograph it. I just imagined what it would be like if my pelvis weren't quite locked in there well. Yeah. And the rest just sort of took care of itself.
Absolutely. There's actually a part in the movie where I cannot remember, the head of the gang, when you first meet the gang besides the main actress, he gets his head bitten off. Yeah. And I couldn't tell if that was you. Was maybe a prosthetic head that, not obviously the head getting bit, that's obviously not his head, but was that you fake biting a plastic head, or was that like a Tarman
No,
head?
that was an insert shot done just with the head. Okay. Without me inside of it. Because the head itself was like a Darth Vader, helmet that I wore. Yeah. So I think they took it off and then they sort of puppeteered it. Okay. To get that effect, because it was really close.
And there's also another scene that always sticks out of me when, the gang comes down to the basement and you were rowing the machine, and you come out and you say brains, obviously, but it looks like your tongue is actually coming out. Was that your actual tongue?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that was it adds so much to it, because just the way you move it is so I could see it in my mind perfectly every time I think about it.
Yeah, once I had the head on, I realized if I stick my tongue out, it's pretty creepy. Yeah. But I wasn't sure if the director wanted that, because it doesn't really match. No. It's perfectly pink and healthy. Yeah, right. So I asked Dan, I said, I could stick my tongue out and lick my lips if you want. And he goes, "Oh yeah, do that."
Yeah, the lips of Tarman, his skin just falling off.
Yeah, yeah.
So how long were you on set for?
It wasn't long. It was about a week, maybe 10 days.
Okay. And was
the whole thing was only like a 6-week shoot.
That's what I heard. And I watched the commentary multiple times, and I can't remember because it's been years since I've watched the commentary. Were you actually on the commentary? Do you remember on the?
I was on DVD? One version of it. Yeah, they've done a number of those.
And I remember somebody mentioning how your outfit was so slimy and so sticky that it was hard for you to walk around without just slipping. There's actually a scene when you're grabbing the guy and he's falling, and you don't even move your feet. You're just kind of sliding back with the
if you look at this, it's one wide shot, or my legs are just sort of
you're just kind of trying to keep balance.
Yeah, it was pretty slippery.
Yeah. Right. Do you keep in touch with any of the actors of that film?
Yeah, we see each other at conventions all over the country. We do reunion conventions, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I bet. Well, it was wonderful meeting you, and I'm very happy to have met you for the first time.
Same here.
This con is fantastic, and I think you add a lot to it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Elbows, COVID. Right, all right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm here with Don Shanks, right? That's how I pronounce your last name. Probably most well known for being Michael Myers in Halloween 5. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
So, my first question is, Michael Myers is probably obviously in the top 3 of most iconic horror villains of all time. In my opinion, he's number 1, but some people would argue otherwise. What was it like just donning the mask and being able to perform as Michael in this film?
Well, it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, when you put the mask on, you become the character. Yeah. You start walking a certain way. You start,
I've heard some actors, kind of tried to play it a little bit method, where they really didn't talk to the other cast while they were on set. How were you?
I was friends with them.
I almost feel like that's probably the better way.
Yeah.
Do you have any maybe stories of what it was like being on set? Because it's such an iconic. Did you maybe have any nerves playing such an iconic character? Or
No, I mean, it's pretty much, I mean, to me, it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know, you do what you're supposed to.
Exactly. How long was the filming process?
5 weeks.
5 weeks. And at any point, did you feel like nerves or anything like that? No? That's good. And, you know, I've asked...
I mean, there was one scene that we were doing I was a little nervous about.
Yeah.
Where she's in the air chute.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I'm stabbing through it. I can't see her.
Oh, that would
so we had to plan it out. You know,
meticulously.
Make sure that she was in the right spot.
Do you have a specific favorite kill or maybe weapon in that?
The one with the side.
The side. Yeah, that's a pretty great one. Have you ever met any of the other Michael Myers? Or?
Oh, I've met them all.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Because I remember, if I remember correctly, there was a con once where almost all of you were there. And it was, you know.
Well, it was the 40th anniversary.
Okay, yeah. That's great.
It was in Pasadena.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite Halloween film?
I like 1 and 2.
I would say those are probably, you know, the most iconic ones. And besides Michael Myers, who's your favorite horror movie villain?
Boy, I don't know if you call him horror. Anthony Hopkins. Silence.
Yeah, that's actually, you know, probably my top 5 favorite movies of all time. He's so good.
I like Thomas Harris stuff.
Oh yeah.
Red Dragon. Hannibal.
But I think, you know, Anthony Hopkins, one of the greatest actors of all time, and he was able to accomplish something that, you know, it stuck with people for a long time, kind of like the Joker from The Dark Knight, where the performance is so good, where it almost overshadows the entire movie because his performance is so good. You know, and it's fun to see that.
But I worked with Anthony.
You have?
World's Fastest Indian.
Oh, really? I've actually never seen it.
And then
I'll have to watch it.
Jim Carrey, I doubled him and doubled him.
Really? Wow. I learn more every day.
I did a fight scene with him, and then I doubled him, and I double jumped in.
Yeah, I'm such a horror fiend that, you know, when it comes to most films, I watch either horror or superhero because nowadays it's such a craze. But yeah, those are the 2 genres that are most fun to me. So, you know, a couple of the actors are like, "Aren't you going to ask me about my other films?" I'm like, sadly, I don't know how those movies too well. It's the horror films.
Well, if you had to go through all of them, I mean, sometimes I'm on it for a day, and other times I'm on it.
Yeah. What was your longest shoot of any movie you've done?
Well, the TV series, it was for 6 months.
Okay. Was it tough after a while? I've heard some people say, you know...
Well, it's a matter of survival.
Yeah. Well, Don Shanks, everybody, it was great meeting you. I'm here with special effects makeup legend, V. Neill. You know, she's done things from Pirates of the Caribbean to Ed Wood to Edward Scissorhands to Beetlejuice and a plethora more. It was wonderful meeting you.
Thank you.
First,
what's your name?
Brian. My name is Brian. I probably should have been starting my interviews like that, but
you should have been starting your interviews like that, Brian.
I guess I could probably start off with what made you get into special effects makeup?
I just loved monsters ever since I was a little kid. I just forced my way in, basically, because women didn't do makeup, and I wanted to do it, and so I met some guys that knew how to do it, and they would teach me, and before you know it, I got in the union, and that's the really short story.
and that's the way you go. You know, you've worked with so many great actors like Johnny Depp and all these great actors. Do you have any maybe stories about Johnny Depp, since he's such an iconic, and you've done so many movies with him? Do you have any maybe some fun stories from Ed Wood or Edward Scissorhands?
Well, you know, not so much fun stories, but I mean, Johnny's always been great to work with because he loves to be on these crazy characters, you know, so you never know what, you know, he's going to want you to do or let you do to him, and he'll pretty much let you do just about anything to him, you know, I mean, I can't remember what we were working on when we started, like, trying to design the Captain Jack stuff, but I told him, I said, hey, Johnny, I said, we should put, like, beads and stuff in your hair. I said, I used to make, I'm very much into Native American art and stuff, and I used to collect all these glass beads, you know, Native American trade beads. And so I had tons of beads and pieces of bones and all kinds of stuff because I'd make these necklaces called treasure necklaces. So he said, okay. So I said, so let me make these cool strings of beads that we can put in your hair and stuff. I have little trinkets and stuff we can tie in there.
It really adds to it.
And yeah, and so that's how we did that. But so it's like, he's just so amiable to, devising new characters and letting you try weird stuff on him. And he doesn't, the kookier the better.
He's so, like you said, he's so malleable, and he does so many different characters, from really stoic characters like Edward Scissorhands to not bombastic, but so like out there, like Jack Sparrow. Do you remember what your first major breakthrough into the special effects industry was? Like, what was your first big film that you think you can remember doing?
Well, the first big film that I did was Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Okay.
And I worked under Fred Phillips then, who was the head of makeup on the original Star Trek TV show. And he was the head of makeup on the first Star Trek film.
And you got into it.
Yeah, I got in. Well, but no, I mean, I was in the union then.
Yeah. But that was where your breakthrough.
That was the first big union project that I did. First big film.
That's awesome. And Beetlejuice, which is one of my personal favorite movies of all time, how much direction was there when it came to, I'm not hugely into the makeup world, but did they kind of let you go off on your own idea of what they wanted, or did they have a specific thing that you just kind of made?
Well, I mean, I had meetings with Tim, and he just, we discussed, he wanted the people in the afterlife to be pastel, and I did some tests, and we realized that pastel wasn't really the way to go because of the way the sets were going to be lit. So we decided it was better if we used more vibrant colors. Yeah. But we did them all in those different colors. And when it came time to do Beetlejuice, he was the only one that we kept pastel.
Yeah.
And so he was yellow, and everybody thinks he was painted white, but I used a pastel yellow color. It just came out looking like white.
Yeah, white. Yeah, and it was.
So it just worked out.
You mentioned Tim Burton, and he's probably one of the most unique directors. When you're watching a Tim Burton movie, there's very few. I think Scorsese is one of them, where Scorsese and a couple other Tarantino. What movies they're. Whose movie you're watching. But I think Tim Burton obviously is the most iconic because he's so out there, and how fun was it working in all his projects?
Yeah, he has a certain aesthetic that he follows, and but even on Sleepy Hollow, you could tell that was his movie because of course Christopher Walken winds up looking like a Tim Burton character as well, but he does have a certain way of making films that it's always been fantastic and just quirky. He picks really cool projects.
My first experience, first time seeing who you were was through the show Face Off, which I loved that show. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, and it was so great. Was there any specific costumes, or not costumes, but makeup that you could think of that was probably the most iconic one from that show that you could,
there was
reminisce
so,
on?
There was so many of them. There was a lot of them. I remember there was one, and it was this really cool robot that, oh gosh, I can't remember his name now, damn it. He was one of the only African-American makeup artists that we had on the show, and he actually won. It starts with an R. Oh gosh, I'm really embarrassed.
People will know who you're talking about.
Anyway, and he did this really cool robot that was kind of like a fireman robot or something. I thought that was amazing.
I think I knew exactly which one you're talking about.
And then there was, when we had the Tim Burton challenge, there were so many really cool makeups that came out of it. There was that cello player, and then of course there was one that really made me laugh, which I always remember, is he was a bellhop. Yeah. And I mean, he put a bra on my head and all kinds of races. It was so funny. So I don't know, but there was a lot of really beautiful makeups. Yeah. I mean, Laura did some fantastic makeups. I can't even remember all the kids' names, but
it's almost like there's so much. Yeah. It's like when what's your favorite movie? There's so many to choose from that you almost forget a lot of movies that are your favorite. It's just one of those things.
No, but there was a lot of really, really beautiful makeups coming out of that show. There was a lot of talented young makeup artists.
Yeah, it was one of the first shows I watched where, most TV shows like that where it's a competition, you could tell who the better, like the winner of each thing is. And that show, it was always hard because it was always minute details that really made somebody's from different.
Got better as they went along. They figured it out as they went. So that was pretty cool.
I love your makeup. I love. You're amazing. You're an amazing person. You're super cool. Neill, everybody. This was a great interview. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
I'm here with Stephen Jeffries, most probably well known for Evil Ed and Fright Night. The first question is just a simple one. What was it like just being on set with everybody?
It was an incredible experience. All of the actors were just, you know, excellent. Roddy McDowell, of course, you know, legendary old Hollywood studio kind of actor, and he made everyone feel very welcome. And Chris Sarandon, great actor, wonderful person, and it was the first movie, one of the first movies for me and Amanda Burse and William Ragsdale. So we were kind of nervous, but you know, it was so well done, well written, well directed that you know, everything kind of fit together very nicely, and I think it turned out to be really good film.
Iconic. It's really special. You know, your death in the movie, you know, the character's death when you turn into a werewolf and you get stabbed through the chest and everything. You know, you either do werewolves right or wrong when it comes to makeup. I think only a few movies in history have really made werewolves look scary. One, I would probably say American Werewolf in London, and then your death at the end was just, the makeup was so amazing and so off the wall that it stuck in my mind pretty much forever. You know, it's been probably about 10 or 15 years since I've seen the movie, but when you get the cross in the head and the character's death is like the two moments in that movie that always stick in my head.
Yeah, and it was so well written that the special effects, they're not done just for their own sake. They come out of a personal story that continues, and it's like it's not like interrupted by, oh my God, this really cool kind of special. They emerged with what was going on in the script, and you know, and you really cared about what was happening. And when the cross is burned on my forehead, it's like, oh no, don't do that to evil. We like him. So, you know, people were definitely sympathetic to what was going on. Yeah, you mentioned American Werewolf in London. It was the exact same special effects guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I probably should have known that.
Yeah, the reverse, like, wax thing. Yeah.
And, you know, your voice, I mean, I'm guessing that wasn't when you turn really into the werewolf or the vampire, and you know, you have almost like a witch-like quality in your voice. It's so high-pitched and like eerie.
Yeah.
What made you think, was that your like artistic choice, or was that like a directorial?
To be honest, it was written in the script. I mean, Tom Holland really wanted that high-pitched kind of, it wasn't easy because that's not me. You know?
I can tell this by your voice right now.
It was definitely a stretch, but you know, I did what he told me to do, and it definitely is an indelible sort of sound.
Another thing that I always remember is, you know, most vampire movies are very, I don't want to say cliche, but with cliche with the fangs, it's always just regular teeth and, you know, maybe a prosthetic pair of fangs. And in this movie, your teeth look very aggressive, very, you know, scary. How long, you know, what was it like having that prosthetic in, and what was it like?
Yeah, the special effects guys on this film were just remarkable. Let's see, Steve Johnson did mine, and who else? They were just grade A, you know, special effects people at the time. And Randy Cook, he did a lot of the puppetry kind of thing, the wolf at the end. So you know, we really had great artists, you know, working for us, and everybody kind of worked together to you know, wanting the same end, and that's always helpful. And so everything, but yeah, the special effects guys, and it took like hours and hours and hours to sit in a chair, but the fact that they were so talented and they knew what they were doing, you know, it wasn't quite as bad, because, you know, you had these like really crazy, talented, mad scientists, you know, doing it. So,
you know, when I think of like mid '80s, early '80s, late, pretty much the golden era to me of horror movies. You know, you think of The Thing, and you think of all these movies that have amazing special effects, along with Fright Night, and just having professionals behind the glass of being able to do all the special effects. I feel like we've kind of almost lost that in current Hollywood and horror, where a lot of these movies that are horror movies are either low budget, grindhouse, which I kind of prefer now, and the really high budget, and it's all CGI. Do you think anything's lost with just using CGI instead of using?
Oh no, definitely. And again, like I said before, the special effects in the movie came out of a story. It wasn't just like, okay, 20 minutes, time for big special effects or an explosion or it just happened naturally out of what the story, where the story was progressing.
And there was a reason for it. It wasn't
just
showing off. Even though it was
and there was a place for that other stuff, like special effects just for the sake of themselves, and they're, it can be very frightening, but in this movie it all happened out of these characters' lives who you cared about, and I think that's what made it really special, where you really cared about the characters. The remake I just recently saw. Yeah, it was an okay movie, but I wasn't invested in any of the characters, and they didn't seem to have a relationship like we did with each other.
Yeah, I've noticed that with a lot of new horror movies. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the special effects. I don't know if it's just the rose-tinted glasses. But it seems like horror movies nowadays just can't capture the enthusiasticness and the heart of 80s horror. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's almost all paranormal films. There's nothing but paranormal films, it seems like, anymore, with Annabelle and stuff. But yeah, it's just, I feel like, the 80s was probably the best era of horror, in my opinion, just because I love the body horror, special effects. But last couple questions, you mentioned earlier that you were nervous because this was was it your first major film, or was it one of your first?
It was the third.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did Heaven Help Us, and Fraternity Vacation, and Fright Night, like right in a row, like nonstop.
So when you're a new actor like that, does it really help to have a really established actor, his name?
Chris Sarandon.
Yeah. Does it help having him there to kind of support you?
Absolutely. Yeah, because later on I did work on projects, unfortunately, that didn't have people like him, and it's such an anchor, and they really, it's good to work with fellow real actors. It's people that just love doing what they're doing, and so yeah, it was everything just came together in a very nice, happy, special. And everyone involved really had their hearts in it. So that's always important.
Last question, probably for me, the most visceral moment in the movie, out of a somewhat pretty violent movie, 80s horror, is the moment when the wolf, jumps after the TV personality, and the wood goes through your heart, and when you see you at the bottom, or the wolf at the bottom, it looks like a real wolf, and it's like all broken. Do you know how was it just like, did they have like a wolf suit and they just prostheticed it? It looks so gruesome, and just the way it was moving.
Yeah, believe it or not, that was me with the puppet thing on my head.
Really? Was it really?
It was torture. I mean, and we did it over 2 days. I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah.
But, when you're sitting in the theater watching it, after the really incredible editing and the music and everything else, it's worth it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's amazing to watch the end product, because making it, it ain't fun.
It's a mixture of pain and pleasure,
Yeah, no, it is, because you're like in this amazing Halloween costume that you would never be able to make on your own or do on your own. So.
And then again, you're in it all day for a couple of weeks, and you're just like, get me out of this, please.
Yeah. Thank God the check's cleared. But, so it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, Stephen Jeffries, everybody, it was great meeting you.
Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
So I'm here with Allan Fernandez, one of the sand people, I guess you would say, back in the day for the original Star Wars, also known as Tusken Raiders. I just wanted to ask, what was it like being on set, and were you like 1,000 degrees in your costume in Death Valley?
Actually, no. We filmed in Death Valley, California, and we filmed in middle of winter in March, 82 degrees. So yeah, it was warm.
Could be worse.
To be very honest, people ask me, were you hot in the costume? And I honestly cannot remember whether I was hot or not. Because I was more concerned about Margie. She had all of this stuff on her, and her costume took 8 months to build around her body. Now, her tail, which is platypus tail.
And you're talking about the bantha.
The bantha,
the elephant.
Her tail moved like the platypus tail, but it was built on Margie's hips. So when she moved her hips, the tail would swing back and forth. Anyway, she was sweating, and at the end of the filming, she was soaked, absolutely soaked. And when we took off her costume, we let her run free up on the ridge, and down below the ridge, she kept an eye on the trailer that was a home for 9 days. She kept her eye on the trailer, and then she was up there on the ridge, so the cool breeze would hit her and she would happy. But the funny thing was, on that highway down below us, people would be driving and not looking up. They couldn't believe their eyes that there was actually an elephant up on the ridge. That can't be. I mean, I can just imagine the husband driving from Reno going back to LA, and the wife would say, "How much did you drink last night?" They couldn't believe that's an elephant.
It'd be outside of a zoo. If you see an elephant, it's almost kind of scary. You're like, okay, what is happening? So, since sand people are so covered, could you maybe specify which sand trooper, as you say, Tusken Raider? Which one were you? Were the guy in the during the battle scene, or
this was actually Peter Dan.
Oh, okay.
He was licensed. He was Actors Guild, so he was licensed to actually strike Luke.
Okay.
I'm just the writer.
Okay.
I mean, Sandman, Sandperson, Tusken Raider.
Yes.
PC.
PC. So do you have, was it George on set, or did you have maybe a second unit director filming those parts?
No, it was George.
Yeah?
In fact, when I was down there, George actually had to come and wake me, because I spent the night in the trailer with Margie.
No, that's nice.
Just calm her down. And she would put her trunk up and smell it, and she would fall asleep. But George would actually come in, knock it at 4 or 5 in the morning, wake me up. Come on, let's go for breakfast.
So when you were filming this movie, obviously I would say it's the biggest franchise in the world. Did you expect it when it happened?
No, we had no idea it was going to be this huge.
Okay. Did you go ahead, continue?
I'm sorry. The first movie made so much money.
Yeah.
That's what built Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah. We were talking about, how big the first movie was, and, nobody expected it. I've seen, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and people used to go back in 1977 2 or 3 times, and people were loving it. Did you, how excited were you after you found out just how massive it was being part of this project that changed people's lives?
When I found out that it was on the silver screen in San Francisco, which was the Coronet Theater, back in May or whatever it was. And I owned a gold Cadillac, so I'm sitting in the back seat and I'm waving at all the fans. And they have no idea who.
They're like, are you part of the movie?
Who's this idiot waving out of the Cadillac?
And you know, the last question is, I think, have you watched the new Mandalorian TV series?
I had a bad feeling of the Mandalorian because they wrapped dynamite over Margie. I know it was fake, okay? Because that was not Margie. But to me, Margie was real. A real live animal. And they wrapped it in dynamite and fed it to the serpent and blew up the serpent.
You're like, it kind of bummed me out.
And all they wanted was that egg.
So you have seen it.
The egg was for those little guys with the yellow eyes, and they wanted to, because they kidnapped Baby Yoda, right? So that was, but I have watched it.
Talking about, you know, what the Mandalorian did for the Tusken Raiders and how it brought them up as characters, and you know, just your thoughts on what you think of that. Of the Tusken Raiders from the Mandalorian TV show.
There was a whole bunch of them. I'm not sure whether they were actually extras that were filming down in Southern California or where they were. I'm not sure. But up in Death Valley, down in Death Valley, there was, as far as I know, there were 3 Tusken Raiders. Stryker, myself, and one other Tusken Raider. I'm not sure who that was, but there were 3 as far as I know. And there was George Lucas and Mickey was one of the editors. Mickey Thomas, I believe, and she was part of the crew.
And probably the last question.
The Mandalorian, that was done much later.
It was so 50 years, 60 years after. Were you able to maybe keep any of your costume parts?
No. In fact, when I got a private tour at the ranch, and remember when I walked into the cafeteria, it was Casey introduced me as Allan, Tusken Raider. One table full of young ladies turned and were looking at me and said, "What are they looking at?" I'm talking to Ben. "What are they looking at?" And Ben says, "Because you're a star." I'm going, "No way." So you know, that was awesome.
I bet it's great. Well, you know, this is Allan Fernandez, Tusken Raider from the original Star Wars A New Hope. Great meeting you.
Thank you very much.
I'm here with Bob Elmore, the Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. You know, start off with some basic questions. You know, what was it like, and how long maybe was the shoot for this film?
This one took about 3 months. I think it was a little over 3 months, maybe. Hardest movie I ever did in my 30-year career as a stuntman. It was hot, miserable, conditions were terrible, and we were working 7 days a week as a stunt crew. So it was, I mean, I did really well on the movie myself, and we all did, but it was hard. It was really hard to do.
This movie, you know, I remember it, I don't remember because I'm not quite old enough, but I've heard a lot of people talking about back in the day there was a lot of backlash for this movie because people didn't quite get it. You know, they saw the first movie and they're like, oh, it's this hardcore, almost grindhouse horror film, and this one was almost I don't want to say a parody, but it was almost a parody of everything.
Of everything, it absolutely was. And that was, people didn't get that when it came out. No, they didn't. It did what it did in the movies and stuff like that. But it was night and day. The original and the second is completely different. And it has become a cult movie after 35 years, and people still talk about it like it was yesterday. You know, and I love going to conventions like this to talk about the movie because people want to know. And these are young people. They're not, I mean, you know, mom and dad are still young compared to when it came out. It was done in 1986. So it was 35 some odd years ago. And it was just before its time.
Yeah, it was definitely.
But look who was in it. Bill Moseley, who went on to do so much.
He does the Devil's Rejects trilogy with
all that stuff. And then Caroline Williams went on. She's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, as far as acting was concerned.
Yeah.
The stunt team went on, you know, very fulfilled careers. All of us were in that movie went on and worked for a long time. And so, yes. And Dennis Hopper, who could say they worked with Dennis Hopper?
Not many.
Not many.
Not many.
And Toby Hooper, you could say that. Yeah. And that's the, you know, the gist of. I mean, I can say that because I did work with Dennis Hopper. I got to sit with him in a van every night going to the set and talk about family and this and that, you know, like that. And just like, here's an icon of American cinema sitting right there, you know, it's like sitting right next to me. So yes, very cool.
You know, I remember there was actually a scene. It's kind of a callback to the first movie where, you know, Leatherface comes out of the bushes and scares people and kills the guy in the wheelchair. There's kind of a scene like that in the second one where you're in the radio studio and the lights are off and you turn it on and you come running in and you hit Bill Moseley in the head.
It was a record vault and he comes out and an iconic scene where he comes in and hit Bill.
Yeah.
And go on from there. That's. I think it was the second time you see Leatherface. And then the chase is on after that.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, they put a spark on, Dan Ranger was Bill Moseley's stunt double, and they put a spark on his head. So it looked like I hit him on the head. Well, we did it 4 times, and each time they shot, because it was a silver plate. Well, silver conducts heat like no tomorrow. So at the end of the day, we take the plate off, and there's 4 huge marks on his head, burns.
Like on his skin?
On his skin. Oh wow! It was like, yeah. It was, we beat the crap out of each other in this whole thing.
There was also a chainsaw fight at the end of the movie, which I don't expect a lot of people expected when that happened with you and
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper. I don't know why his name escaped me. Obviously, you guys didn't have real chainsaws.
Oh, they were real.
Or with the chain, where they had a chain on them?
Yes, they did.
Oh,
the only thing they did was dull the teeth on the chain.
Really?
Because if you watch it really closely, there was a couple of shots where I hit Dennis with my saw and the blade comes off.
Really?
You know, so like, okay, we cut and we bring in another saw and we keep going.
Yeah.
You know?
And you said you're a stuntman. What other films have you done stunt work for?
Oh, jeez. I'm so old, I don't remember them all. I doubled John Candy in 6 movies for John. I did. For him, I doubled John Goodman in movies, Paul Sorvino in movies. A lot of doubling of big people. I played myself a lot. Always got beat up or killed. Every single time. And so I've done all kinds of stuff. Did a lot of TV when I first started.
Yeah.
And then got motion pictures and stuff. And went on, almost 30, a little over 30 years.
Yeah. Do you keep in touch with any of the actors from this film?
No.
No. I've seen some people say yes, some people say no. It's one of those things where it's like, it's either you don't because it's so old, or you guys just became serious friends and then it's forever.
That's the thing. It's it's hard to become a friend with somebody that you're working for.
Exactly.
And that's it's a business.
Yeah.
And that part, John Candy was a great man, but we weren't really close. We weren't friends, but I worked for him a lot.
Yeah.
And he was a hell of a guy.
Oh yeah. I don't have enough money. Yeah. Well, Bob Elmore, everybody, this is a great interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and everybody, thank you who's listening. Big shout out to everybody like that. Remember the Saws family. Right.
Absolutely. Here with Mark Dodson, known for the voice of Salacious Crumb from Return of the Jedi, and also the Gremlins. My first question, since I'm a huge Star Wars fan, you played the voice of Salacious Crumb. How was being on set during the filming of that film?
So I wasn't on set because I'm a voice actor, so I was in the studio.
Okay.
And it was great. I mean, I was in the studio with Ben Burtt, and it was about a half hour of cackling and gibberish and just improvising and stuff, and then Ben took it all and made it fit, made it work. Yeah.
And so did you get any kind of like direction on what they kind of wanted for the voice of Salacious, or was it kind of just your thing?
No, I accidentally came up with it out of nervousness. I was there to actually do Admiral Akbar, or to try out, to audition for Admiral Akbar, and I got so nervous, I started shaking, and the script was shaking, and I said, I need to get rid of these nerves, and Ben was like, do whatever you got to do, and I walked away from the mic, and I started and then when I came back, I was like, okay, I'm ready to try for this Admiral Akbar, and Ben was like, no, take the script. He's like, no, and I thought, uh-oh, I blew it. And he's like, no, what you just did over there, I got a creature that'll be perfect for it. Forget Akbar, we're gonna do a bunch of that, and I'm gonna have you do that. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And so, you know, I can imagine, I can hear it in my brain. You know, Salacious is iconic. The laugh, exactly. And you know, it's such a, it adds. I mean, it's so great to see it, to have to be a Star Wars fan, and just to meet people like you. And and you know, Gremlins also is an iconic movie. Exactly. I'll let you do your thing if you want to do it. I'm here with Naomi Grossman, also known as Pepper from American Horror Story. You know, probably one of the most popular horror franchises when it comes to the TV series, maybe ever, but in a long time for sure. And obviously you're beautiful, and you play, you know, a sideshow Carney kind of S character in this, based off, I don't know if you know the movie Freaks. If were you maybe told to maybe mimic that kind of characteristic, or told to watch the movie Freaks beforehand, or?
Indeed, that was my whole direction, actually.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that movie, and it's very eerie, I would say, but it's you know, I think you reenacted that illness very well. And maybe how long, you know, what was it like on set? How long have you guys been filming for? How long did it take to make each season?
Each season takes about 6 months in total.
Yeah. And what was it like being on set?
Oh, it was great. I mean, you're working with like the people who are the top of their game in every way, like from the, you know, makeup artist to the guy, you know, pulling the string to make the tent look windy. No, truly, he's like the best tent, you know, puller there is.
When you got this part, did you audition for this part, or they saw you? I mean, obviously most people audition, but you know, some people get lucky enough to get called in by the director or whatever.
No, they don't. I mean,
yes, they do.
Yeah, if you're Jessica Lange, you're just being offered, of course, but I was not a known entity at that point, obviously. So yes, I had to audition.
So how has your life changed since this show? You know, coming probably from a relatively unknown actress to being, you know, at cons, and you know, people want to get your autograph and all this. How was that, you know, life changing?
I mean, it's changed every aspect. I mean, I still put my pants on one leg at a time, but other than that, it's really changed everything.
Absolutely. Well, that was great. I really appreciate the comment.
Very lovely.
Thank you so much. All right. I'm here with Noah Hathaway. Just talking about Neverending Story a little bit. Do you have a favorite memory maybe about the filming over, you know, the year and stuff that was taken to film?
Getting my ass kicked every week.
That was your favorite?
It wasn't my favorite, but like, I mean, yeah, who gets blown out of trees by a big snot rocket? And I mean, there was a cool thing about doing your own stunts, because they weren't like little pussy stunts either. Like, you got to roll backwards down this 30-foot turtle and fall 6 foot into a mud when you're dick high. I was like 4'2" or whatever. You know, and you're not a stunt man, so yeah, it was fun to do. But yeah, I got my ass whooped all the time. It kicked my ass.
You were also part of the Trolls movie. You know, it's been, God, however many years it's been since I've seen that movie. I've only been able to see it once. But do you have any maybe funny stories about?
I only could sit through it once.
I didn't want to say that, but you know.
What was my? Dude, I don't. It was right after the Neverending Story, and they were like, yo, we're doing this shitty troll movie. I was friends with 2 of the other actors. I got to spend 4 or 5 months in Italy, and I got paid, so I said, word. That's literally, it was all my fun stuff was outside of work on that one.
Nothing will ever compare to the cinematic masterpiece that is Trolls 2.
Oh yeah, I like Trolls 2. It's funny.
you know, it's one of those so bad it's good. It's kind of like The Room. You know,
it's like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes bad.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's
worse. I can even believe that.
It's a horror movie that makes you laugh, and you know, a lot of people love that. You know, the so bad it's good genre almost. You know, The Room. You know, you see people cosplaying and stuff as Tommy Wiseau, and you know, the trolls. It's almost like in the cultural zeitgeist of how ridiculous it is.
It's utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, but you know, it's
right.
If you want to make a movie and you love making a movie, why not? But you know, you said you were in a band, a punk band. I don't remember catching the name of the band.
Well, I was putting one together before the pandemic, and then it just kind of, and I moved to Vegas and all this other stuff. But I have friends that, like, my friend play guitar for Megadeth, and then another buddy of mine played guitar for Exploited. So we're just gonna jam together and record some stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna. I was supposed to shoot a documentary and do some gigs around the country, just wherever, you know, some live music, some punk gigs.
It was a music documentary?
No, so a company came to me and they wanted to do like life after Atreyu, and I just wasn't into keen kind of how that type of shit is. Yeah. It's not me. Yeah. So I told them this is what I'd like to do. I want to get my dogs, put them in an RV, go around America, take pictures and gig and play some fucking music, and they dug it. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. As soon as they can get out of the UK. Yeah. So maybe next week.
You know, it seems like you're living the life, you're having a blast, and you know, it really makes me happy seeing people, you know, living life to the fullest. You know, that's what I try to do and try to do my best.
Well, especially right now, what are you gonna do? Like, I'm not gonna live my fucking life. Yeah. So I gotta just live my life as best as I can, and I go this way, and I don't worry about what everybody else the fuck doing, and I just stay in my lane, and I always. Okay, I look a little rough, but Finding Nemo is like one of my favorite movies, so I always go, just keep swimming.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how you're supposed to. You got to go through life. You know, recently, you know, when I was younger, I used to worry about things a lot. I was kind of a nervous wreck as a child. And recently, you know, I've been living life by the motto, you know, it is what it is. If something bad happens, there's nothing you can do about it. It's already happened, you know. You just gotta live.
I say it is what it is.
It is what it is.
A lot.
Now, I don't know what that poster is. Sushi Girl.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Almost, I think it was maybe 10 years ago, I was living in Amsterdam, and I came back. I'd broken my back, so I wasn't working a lot. Yeah. In 10, 15 years. I came out to do that because it was Sonny Chiba, who was Hattori Hanzo, Mark Hamill, help me here, Tony Todd, Michael Bean, Danny Trejo.
Tony Todd, wow. That's a really...
Yeah, it was a good cast.
I might have to check that movie out then.
It's very grindhousey.
I love those
movies. They torture me for like an hour and a half, and it was fun.
Have you seen Terrifier? That's a very popular grindhouse
It's on my list.
Yeah, same. I haven't seen it either.
Fucked Up Clown. It's on my list. I will watch that this week because I had like 4 people tell me, you got to see Terrifier.
Absolutely, yeah. It's pretty brutal. It's a very violent movie. Well, great meeting you. Noah Hathaway, everyone.